recording? Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 29. And once again, I'll say happy Easter because technically we recorded two episodes today. You're getting the prior episode, episode 28, about Rudderless. And we're also getting Garage Days by Alex Proyas. Today, I am proud to welcome not just a guest, but my co-host, Mike the Wildenbeest. Mike, welcome
Woo-hoo.
back.
Hey, thanks,
Uh,
John, for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching our previous videos and continue to subscribe and listen and watch. Eventually, we'll have a listen-only version on Spotify down the line. But from now on, keep on listening and subscribing to the YouTube down below.
So, Mike, how you been? I know it's been a whole 15 minutes since I last spoke with you, right?
Well,
You're
I'm
gonna fuck
doing well.
yourself.
We
Yeah,
we
that's
we
good.
did this so that we talked mainly about things going on last week since, yeah, long story
Yeah,
short, we tried to record an episode last week and it ended up not
yeah, yeah.
happening due to weather and some other stuff. So we pushed Rudderless to this week. So we're doing both. Things are going well. I had a funeral in the family last week, so we've just been dealing with that. Now we're at spring break, so my kids are off school. Um, yeah, so just hanging out with kids. I've got the week off hanging with them. My wife's got two movies, so she's working two movies. You'll hear me talk a lot about my wife. She's a production accountant. She's been in the film industry since 2014. Um, she's awesome. She's worked on a lot of really cool movies and TV shows,
Awesome.
including the TV show Yellowstone. She's worked on
Mm,
several smaller budgeted films, but she also did some
mm.
work on Hereditary, the Ari Aster film, which
Oh, okay,
was
I've heard about that.
filmed here locally in Utah, which is a big deal. So yeah, my wife is my connection to the movie world. I love movies a lot more than she does, so it kind of
Yeah,
works because I've been offered opportunities to work, and maybe eventually one of these days I will jump in and work with her in her movies. But I have been in the mortgage industry on and off for quite a while.
awesome.
But yeah, that's me. I've been a film fan for a very long time. I know I've kind of gone over my introduction if you've listened to me here the past two, but just to let you know who I am, I'm the Wildebeest, Mike. I've been a film fan for many years. I started going to the Sundance Film Festival in 2003, and I've gone every year since. Even years I've only seen one movie, but I've always gone every single festival, even the ones they had at home. It's a love of mine. Independent film is a love of mine. I love music. I love art. I love comic books. I love comic book movies. I'm not a big reader as far as novels go. I'm a little bit dyslexic, but I do like comic books in short form. Music, like I said, is one of my big lifelines. I really enjoy, like, hip hop is my go-to. I was raised a child in North Carolina in the ghetto, in the hood, like 92, listening to Snoop Dogg and all this wonderful hip hop and
Mm,
R&B, and I just grew to love it, and it's a big part of who I am. I love Nas. Killer Mike last year released the best rap album of the year, and if you're an old man like me, you need to listen to that album. It's
nice.
a rap album for guys in our 40s. It's about owning your own shit. It's about
Hmm.
being a master of your own world,
Hmm.
and it's really positive, real man's music. So Killer Mike, listen to that album. Great artist. He was also part of Run the Jewels, but he's huge to me. Um, been listening to his stuff a lot. So yeah, that's me. I'm a father also. I've got lots of different children. You're in a yours, mine, and ours situation. Me and my wife. This is both of our second marriage. So we have kids together as well from our previous marriages that we've all kind of combined and raised. I've got young adults who are 21 and 22 down to
Hmm.
6 year olds. So that's me.
Wow,
I'm a father. I'm a
you got
movie
your hands
lover.
full.
Yeah, we got our hands full. My wife works in the movie, so I do a lot there. I attend the Sundance Film Festival every year,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people in the industry through that as well. Now we're here to
Awesome, Mike.
talk about a film that I'd seen at my first Sundance Film Festival, and that's Alex Proyas's Garage Days.
Yes.
So
Before we get into that, do you want to tell us what you've been watching this week? I know
yeah,
you
let's.
recapped the last episode. Do you have any stuff besides the
Nope,
stuff we talked?
I have separated it so that we
Oh,
have
okay. I
the
wasn't
2
sure.
weeks worth. So this week, yes, I've watched a lot of stuff actually this week.
Nice. I'm jealous,
I
man.
know
I'm
we've been
jealous.
going to the movies a lot lately. So the
Sweet.
previous week I got to the theaters to see Immaculate and Ghostbusters. This week I've gone to the theaters a couple times. Also, well, I guess did I only get out there once? I guess I did. I only got out there once this week.
Mhm.
This week I saw Godzilla King of the Godzilla
Ooh,
Kong. So
I'm
to
jealous.
prepare for Godzilla and Kong, I started rewatching well, at least the last two. So the first one that I rewatched with my 6-year-old was Godzilla King of the Monsters,
Mhm.
from the director who did Trick or Treat. Much better than I'd remembered. It looks great. I watched the 4K Ultra HD that I own Blu-ray. It looked
Mhm.
beautiful. It looked great. And the movie itself is kind of a mess because I hate how they made the decision to have every fight in rain or snow or storm or a
Mhm.
windstorm, so you never get a clear view. That's the only thing that kind of bothers me about King of the Monsters. But I love seeing Ghidorah. I love seeing Rodan. There's some beautiful
Mhm.
imagery in that movie. But again, they choose to freaking film the fucking thing in this always snowing, always raining. I just want to see Ghidorah without rain and snow over his face all the time.
Yeah, that's
That
weird. It's weird.
it gets
Weird.
old
Weird.
after a
Oh, yeah.
while. And when I first saw the movie, I took my son, who's now 12, to see it, and he was like 6 or 7. It was so
Mhm.
loud in the theater that he ran out screaming. It was a big deal during the Rodan
Yeah.
scene. The movie is loud, it's obnoxious, it's blurry, but it's a big,
Mhm.
fun Godzilla movie. And as far as the strict Godzilla movies, it's my favorite in the new
Mhm.
MonsterVerse. But again,
Nice.
this MonsterVerse really wants us to focus on Kong. So I also
Yeah.
rewatched Godzilla versus Kong, Adam Wingard's
Okay.
first film in the series from
Sweet.
2021. I've seen it a couple times, but again, I wanted to introduce it to my 6-year-old since we were going to see it in the theater. He had a blast with this one. It's basically Adam Wingard's like, hey, let's prepare people that we're not going to be doing the Heisei or the 80s 90s versions, which is really what I felt the King of the Monsters felt like we were watching one of those old 90s ones. This
Mhm.
is more in line with the Showa era stuff. And that's kind of what
Okay.
Adam Wingard likes. You can tell he's going
Mhm.
into the team up, silly live action cartoons that the Godzilla
Mhm.
series kind of turned into in the
Yeah.
70s. So this is really what these movies, the Kong versus Zilla movies are, is they're just big fun love letters to the Showa era. So if you like the 70s era, you're going to love these. If you love Kong, you're going to love these. Some Godzilla fans put these towards the bottom. They don't love them
Mhm.
as much. I know there's a lot of debate whether the MonsterVerse movies are really Godzilla movies. The true Godzilla fans will say, no, not really. But
Mhm.
whatever. I don't care what you say. They're still a Godzilla movie to me. And I like Godzilla versus Kong. I think it's
Mhm.
fun. The first fight on the ship is awesome,
Mhm.
and you get it. You just get a lot of tongue in cheeks. You get a lot of wink winks for Adam Wingard fans like Cupcake from
Mhm.
WatchKit Plus. He loves them,
Mhm.
but it's fun, and that leads us to Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, which is the newest
Okay.
movie. We saw it in theaters.
Sweet.
So all of that led us to us going to see that in theaters. Man alive, was it fun, dude.
Mhm.
Oh, I had so much fun. This is really the truest live action cartoon we've gotten of Godzilla in America. It
Mhm.
doesn't try to be anything more than destroy all monsters type 70s fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend a lot of time with the monsters,
Mhm.
smashing, getting themselves
Fashion.
covered in
Yeah.
blood, eating things. It is really a lot of fun.
Mhm.
It's silly, it's stupid. The human
Yeah.
story is not involved at all. But if you want to
Mhm.
go see some big fun smash up duos of Kong and Godzilla beating the hell out of a big Scar King and his little pet Godzilla, it's fun. It's silly. It's
Awesome.
dumb, but my kids had a blast, and so did I. If you're a hardcore Godzilla fan and you loved Minus Zero like me, this
Mhm.
might not entertain you the same. It's not for
Yeah.
true Gojira fans. It's not going to be the same. So just
Yeah.
know that going in. But if you like the big dumb Showa era stuff from the 70s, Destroy All Monsters, Son of Godzilla, those kind of more fun ones, this is in that realm. So I enjoyed it. I say go see it in the theater. I saw it in the
Awesome.
RPX 3D. Oh man, it was
Ooh,
fun.
I
It
can
was
only
like,
imagine.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a roller coaster ride. So and my kids had a blast with it. So I'm really glad I got to see that in
Oh, that's
theaters.
awesome, man. So my attitude, just to interject for just a second,
Go for it.
I I love the smashing, just having fun popcorn, and I like the element that minus one brought too, because
Mm-hmm.
they're just two sides of the same coin. It's like, hey, you can have the dramatic human element, or it's, oh man, look at the humans and what they're going through, and you feel for them. But then you can have a fun smash 'em up movie where it's just about the monsters. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I think it's awesome that you have a franchise that allows you to do both. And guess what? Both of them are kicking ass, and both of them are getting pretty good reviews. Like they both
Yep.
got good reviews. So I think it's cool that we have a franchise can do that. Because usually, like especially when it comes to monster shit, people just want one or the other. I think the ones that only want just the one type of it's like going to an all you can eat buffet and being like, yeah, I'm just gonna have the chicken. But you got all this other shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, chicken's great, but you got pasta, you got pizza, you got all this stuff. Why are you limiting yourself to just one thing? So I think it's
Yeah.
awesome they have a franchise that has both stuff out there for you. You know, it's cool that's it's out there for people. So just
It
my
is. And
interjection
it's
there.
just like, I just love that we have this world of Godzilla fans. And I
Oh
think
yeah, for
now that
sure.
Marvel is a sinking ship, I think that we're going to see more and more kaiju movies.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a Pacific Rim Part 3, an actual sequel
Oh
that's better than what we got. So I
yeah.
mean, hopefully these movies will make money and we'll see more of
Yeah.
this instead of
I'd love
more
to see.
Marvel.
Dude, I would love to see a Pacific Rim third one because the second one. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's bad. I know a lot of people just shout all over that movie. I'm not gonna say it's god awful, but Del Toro is Del Toro, and he just brings that Del Toro magic that the first one had. The second one was watchable. It served its purpose,
It's a
but
cartoon.
yeah,
It's
there's
very
a
similar to Godzilla Kong 3, this newest one.
yeah,
It's a cartoon, and it's okay to
yeah,
make live action cartoons. They do
yeah,
it all the time. I mean, look at Speed Racer. I'll sit and
yeah.
defend that movie all day long. It's a
Oh
brilliant,
hell yeah, hell
beautiful
yeah,
live action cartoon. And I think live
yeah,
action cartoons are fun. I don't think there's
yeah, for
sometimes
sure.
it's fun to have something that just looks visually cool and doesn't have a whole lot more on meat on its
On the
bones than
feeling.
just
Dude,
looking
that's
cool.
why, like I was telling you the last episode, like half the reason some of my watches are like lighter stuff. It's not because I don't have like a shit ton of heavy stuff. It's not like I don't watch heavy stuff. Hell, Rudderless, that's a heavy fucking movie. Um, but a lot of times I watch the popcorn flicks or the lighter stuff just because you're going through shit, you're dealing with life stuff. Sometimes that lighter stuff just goes down quicker, goes down
Mhm.
easier. You can have fun with it, still have that good experience, but not having to feel like miserable about yourself. I remember seeing what's that movie? What's Aronofsky's first movie? Was it Pie or
Pie.
Rescue? Yeah, dude. And I only saw it the one time, but man, afterwards I was just like, just put a gun in my mouth and just you know what I mean? Like I mean, it's a good movie, but it's so fucking dark. You know,
Mm.
it's like you're questioning your life. You're like, oh my god, you know, like, and there's nothing wrong with those type of movies. Like I said, Rudderless had some gut wrenching moments. I think it had a heart at its core. You
Yep.
know, so I'm not saying I don't watch those movies, but sometimes there's something to be said about something disposable, something quick
Yeah.
that tastes good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
that's what I did. Those three movies with my son was awesome. And then the
yeah,
last three things I have on the list were movies I spent the last few days watching with my wife. So
okay,
she's not
nice.
really a big movie watcher. She works in the
Yeah,
industry. She likes reality TV. She's one of those that likes Real Housewives and all that.
yeah,
So I was, we decided we were going to start watching some movies together. And I was like, let's
nice.
just go through Max and just watch some of these old chick flicks that
Mm-hmm.
we not haven't seen in years. And so
Mm-hmm.
we watched three this weekend, the last 3 days, and two of them are pretty great. One of them not so much. The first one,
Uh-huh.
not so much, was called How Does She Do It? Made in 2011, starring Sarah Jessica Parker and Greg Kinnear. It's based off of a book by an alt-right piece of shit, I found out.
Yeah.
The movie is not good. It's supposed to be a feminist movie by a woman who doesn't believe that trans people are women. Again, very much like J.K. Rowling's. The book is a mess. The movie's a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't recommend How Does She Do It because we know women are powerful. We know that they're strong.
Yeah.
This movie
Yeah.
does not show any of that. It's really obnoxious. Sarah Jessica Parker plays kind of the same character she played in the Sex and the City, but in a
Yeah.
PG-13 version. Greg Kinnear, I
Mm-hmm.
felt for the whole time because she works for this awful company for this awful man who's trying to sleep with her, played by
Mm-hmm.
Pierce Brosnan, while his wife, her husband, is trying to keep it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And but the whole movie's about how great she is. I thought it was awful. So did my wife. Skip it. The next
Nice.
one that we jumped into because it said you like this, you'll like this one more, was The Women from 2008, which is a remake of the 1939 Oscar nominated classic, which is known for having no men on the film. And the remake does. And the
Okay.
remake got shit on by critics. It came out in 08. I never saw it because it got shit on. The critics,
Hmm.
all they did was compare it to the original from 1939, which a lot of people haven't seen and don't know.
Yeah.
And it turned people off from seeing this movie, which I thought was a great little feminist film. You got Annette
Hmm.
Bening, who's awesome in it. You've got
She's
Meg
always
Ryan.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good. Meg Ryan basically plays a rich character whose husband is cheating on her and having an affair on her. And it's about how that affair affects all the women around her, not just the
Hmm.
people in her circle, but we get little bits from the people he works with, the people that work at the house, like the housekeeper. And you get these scenes about the women surrounding
Hmm.
this affair and how this affair affects all of the women around it. Really
Hmm.
interesting movie. Yes, it's a little bit '08 cutesy. It's got that kind of that Hollywood feminist touch, which I think some people find offensive. I thought it was really fun. My wife thought it was great. We both are like, wow, why didn't we see this earlier? So
Hmm.
2008, The Women, it's a remake of a 1939 classic. Check it out. It's on Max. Annette Bening gives a really great performance. Meg Ryan's fun. I'd say it's a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. It's like a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. So fuck them. It's much better than that.
Yeah.
The
They get it
last
wrong
one,
sometimes.
that's big wrong because I
A
really
lot of the
enjoyed it.
time.
But everybody just compared it to the original, which I haven't seen. So I'm sure
Yeah.
if I saw the original, I'd probably say the 2008 one was shit too. But it's as it is, not having seen the original. I thought this was fun, and it's a movie that more
Mm.
people should see, even though Deborah Messing can't really act. She's okay. The last one we watched is the one that was my choice, one of my favorite rom coms that helped me get through my divorce. It's the Fairley Brothers Fever Pitch. A lot of people cannot stand the stars in this, Drew Barrymore and Mr. Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I thought the movie has heart. It's
Hmm.
sweet. It's simple. It's about fandom. It's about what happens when the guy of your dreams is perfect in everything, but he is such a fan of a team that you just can't wrap your hand around it. And
Hmm.
sometimes fandom can ruin your life. You can love
Hmm.
something so much that you exile others from it. So it's a lot of it's about fandom and
Hmm.
how to balance love and life with the fandom of the things we love. So
Awesome.
it's the one that got trashed by critics. Some people
Yeah.
don't like Mr. Tonight Show. I get it. He can be annoying. But in this, he's sweet. He fits the role perfectly. You could
Yeah.
tell it was probably initially written for Adam Sandler. It feels like
Hmm.
it was an Adam Sandler part, probably originally. I don't know,
Hmm.
but that's what it feels like. But I think he did a great job in it. Barrymore's great as the girlfriend who's trying to wrap her hand around being with the perfect guy, and then she realizes he's only perfect in the off season. Once the summer
Okay.
guy's great, but once the on season starts, he's awful. So it's really fun. It's a great little rom com. So yeah, recommend The Women, and I recommend Fever Pitch. I also recommend all of those Godzilla movies, Godzilla versus Kong, and the new one,
Awesome.
as well
Well,
as Godzilla, King of the Monsters. You've got to watch it. If you're a
yeah.
Godzilla fan, some Godzilla fans put it up there top 10, 15 on the list because
Oh,
the
wow.
monsters are cool, but I just don't like the way it's filmed.
Yeah. No, well, it's understandable. There's little things like that sometimes throw you off for sure. Absolutely.
So that
Um,
was my week in movies. How
yeah.
about you, John?
Oh, okay. So this week was another crazy week between the medical stuff and then just crazy work week. So I didn't get a chance to go to the movie theaters. I'm kind of jealous of all you guys that have been going to the movie theaters every week. I keep on seeing the posts. I haven't been to the movie theaters in 2 weeks. So a lot of catching up. I did a rewatch of a Netflix show called Atypical. It's kind of
Mm,
like a comedy drama. Came out in 2017. They did four seasons, ended in 2021. Its central character is a guy named Sam Gardner. He's a teenager. He's on the spectrum, on the high end of the
mhm.
spectrum. Um, and it's about his struggles getting through life, and it's more done with a comedy element with some
Mhm.
dramatic touches. You got a great cast, supporting cast. Oh, by the way, his name is Kevin Gilchrist. That's the actor. I
He's so
haven't seen
good.
him.
I love Kevin Gilchrist.
I haven't seen any of his other stuff, but my girlfriend's saying there's a movie with him and Emma Roberts and Zach Galifianakis, which I didn't write down, where they go to like an.
A
I think they're
mental
in an.
institution.
Yeah, she said that movie is one of her favorites. I
Yeah,
have
he's
not
great.
seen that. But this movie, not this movie, this show, like I said, I
So
remember
good.
watching the four seasons. The characters are amazing. My mom years ago, I mean, she but not years ago, she retired. She worked at a private school here in Jersey for her entire career where she worked with kids with autism. She started as a teacher's aide, then became a teacher, then became the administrator. So of course I have a little bit of an introduction to that world, that background. You can't help it when your parents deal with that kind of stuff. My dad taught special education, so I know a little bit about kids with learning disabilities. So I
Yep.
already had a little bit of insight going into the series. Like I said, it was a rewatch. I liked it because it's about a family. The main focus is on Sam, but because he's your central hero, but everyone else gets their own story arc too. You have Jennifer Jason Lee as Elisa Gardner playing his mom. You got Bridget Lundy Payne, who's Casey Gardner. That's the sister.
Hmm.
Uh, then you have Michael Rappaport. I forgot to write down his. Oh no,
My
here it is.
guy,
Michael
Michael
Rappaport.
Rappaport.
He's playing the dad, Doug Gardner. And then you have Nick Dodani, who's playing Zahid, his best friend.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's great.
It's a great movie. It's a great
Everybody's
show.
great. The creator Robia Rashid also did How I Met Your Mother,
Hmm.
and she also did a show called Camp, which I've never seen before.
Yep.
And like I said, I just had a really good time going back. I'm sad to see that it ended after 4 seasons, but the way they ended it, it was very natural. It was very organic, kind of like Breaking Bad. From the beginning, they knew they were going to be 5 seasons, and it ended, in my opinion, perfectly.
Uh-huh.
They
Mine
didn't
too.
push it. I think the same thing with this show. They didn't push it. They could have pushed it and tried to stretch it out a little bit more, but sometimes when you do that, you jump the shark and you just lose sight of stuff. They
Yeah.
didn't do that.
As a father of an autistic kid myself, I think the movie gets a lot of things right, or the show gets a lot of things right.
Yeah.
It
No,
does get some things wrong, of course. Everything's different
yeah,
for
yeah,
everybody, but I love the show, and as a big Michael Rappaport fan, I listen to his podcast, and he's a shit talker. And me and my wife, because my wife likes reality shows, he's a big
yeah.
reality show guy.
Oh, he
So
is. Okay.
we listen to his podcast together. But
Oh,
yeah, I'm
nice.
a big fan of him, and I'm a big fan of that show. Super great
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, no, it's a solid one. So I did that,
Hmm.
and then another one I went back to. So I've always been a fan of improv comedy and stuff like that. So years ago, I fell in love with the Drew Carey version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? But
Hmm.
what I didn't realize once you go down the rabbit hole was there's an Australian version of that show, which I still haven't seen, and there's a UK version of that show that ran from 1988 to like 1999. I didn't sit through 10 years worth of the UK show. But I did sit through probably a couple seasons so far, and I'm loving it, man. I mean, you have a lot of the people from the Drew Carey version, like Colin Mockery,
Uh-huh.
Ryan Stiles, Wayne Brady. Eventually makes an appearance in a couple of the episodes. And basically the idea of that show is you have a host that comes up with a scenario, and then they have to improv their way through the scenario, and it's all very comical. It's all very ridiculous and just a really funny show if you like improv comedy, which I think is such an incredibly difficult thing to pull off. And they pull it off, man. It's highly recommended. Like I said, you
Yeah,
can
it's
find it
fun.
on Tubi for free. You can find it on Pluto. Definitely a great way to kill some time if you're looking for something light and fun. Um, the Drew Carey one, if you can hunt it down on YouTube, find the Robin Williams one, man, because Robin Williams appeared on that show once and it's amazing. Like it's through the roof hilarious. Then you get like special guest cameos in some of the episodes. So definitely worth seeking out. And then the last thing I watched was About Schmidt by Alexander Payne. Came out in 2002. Now I
Hmm.
remember seeing it years ago, but not having a strong memory of it. It's like a comedy drama. You got Jack
Hmm.
Nicholson, you got Hope Davis, you got Dermot Mulroney, um, and it's just this guy that's retired. He's an insurance works for an insurance company. As he's retiring, he's realizing his place in the world, and he's realizing, like his wife, he's not crazy about. She's kind of annoying. Uh, his daughter, played by Hope Davis, is about to marry an idiot by Dermot Mulroney, his future son-in-law, and it's all about him kind of coming to grips with all of this. And it's very, very much I say dark comedy, but on the same token, also there's a lot of dramatic elements to it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just really, really well done. Um, highly, highly recommended. I don't think it's one of the excuse me, one of the Alexander Payne movies that gets its due.
It
Um,
doesn't. And Kathy
you know,
Bates, I think she won an
yeah.
Oscar
Oh,
for
and also
that, or
Kathy
was she
Bates. Yeah,
nominated?
yeah. She plays the mother-in-law. I'm not sure. I didn't look that up. I
I
know
think
she's in
she
it. She
was
plays the
at
mother-in-law.
least nominated. I don't remember if she won, but she was good in that. Of course, she went all
Yeah.
out in the movie.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's so crazy because the movie starts off, and like I said, he's retired, and like he's realizing how much he hates retirement. Like he's realizing how annoying his wife is. His wife dies, and then
Hmm.
he's trying to save his daughter from marrying this idiot son and future son-in-law, of his fiance, and he meets all these characters, and it's just a really funny movie. But like I said, it also has some really dramatic moments. And I think the takeaway after everything's said and done is he realizes like, hey, you can't change people. You can't save your daughter. If she's in love with this idiot, she's gonna be in love with this idiot. Like at the end of the day, like just try to move forward and appreciate life, enjoy life. You can't be miserable your entire life. Otherwise, you're just not gonna have a good living. You're not gonna have a good experience.
Yep.
So definitely recommend it if you guys haven't seen that. I think like a lot of people, what was the one that he got nominated? Shit. The one that
Departed.
no, the not Nicholson, Alexander Payne. What was the one that he did that just came out? The one about the Christmas, they were on Christmas break,
Oh, the
the boarding,
holdovers. Yeah.
the holdovers, like he got the holdovers, and he's got Sideways. He's got all these good
Uh-huh.
movies. Even
It's great. I love it.
what was the one with oh fucking I'm struggling here today, guys. The first one that really fucked with me, but I loved it. Election.
Election.
Talk a dark comedy. Oh my god, that movie had me in stitches. So you get elements of that dark comedy in this one. It is pushing more the drama. I think it's a mixture of the two. But
I think
yeah,
it's a great movie of his. And like the holdovers, didn't get treated well at the Oscars either. It was
yeah,
nominated for Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and it didn't win anything at the Oscars, which is sad. Sad. That was 2003. That was the beginning of my film loving days. I was in my early
yeah.
20s. I remember that movie really well. I loved the heck out of it.
Yeah, and
So,
another interesting note to make is, listen, no one likes saying this, but it's part of the reason like Quentin Tarantino's being done after 10 films. Most of the times, even with actors, a lot of times towards the end of their career, they start making movies that aren't quite as good as they used to be. And Nicholson, I hate to say it, he had a couple that were good, but I felt like there was a lot of like filler shit too. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And this is one of the ones that wasn't filler. Like
No,
this is
this
one of
was
the
his
ones.
last great role. It's his last. I
Yeah,
know. I think he won for Departed, which was after this,
yeah.
maybe, right? But I think it was after this. But I think this is a better role than Departed.
No, I
That
think
was.
this is the better role, and I think part of the reason this is the better role is The Departed is just the Jack that we've seen before. That's not his
Mhm.
fault, but it's the Jack that we've seen before. It's the Jack that probably just read the script once and just showed up on set.
Yep.
This is the role where he actually had to dig into, and he
Be
actually had to
something
play,
different. I mean, he
yeah,
had to
play
gain
something
weight.
different.
He had to like
Yeah,
get out of his Playboy world,
yeah,
at the time.
yeah. So there's a lot of credit due for what he did with this. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what I saw this week. I'm hoping to get out and see some movies this week. Like I know you talked about Immaculate. I want to see Immaculate. I want to
Yeah,
see Late Night with the Devil if I can
me
see it
too.
early enough in the day instead of having to see a fucking 10 o'clock showing.
It's only at night around here. Same.
But yeah, those are two I'm looking forward to. So yeah, that's pretty much that. If you want, I will do a dive into the cast and crew next of Garage
Yeah,
Days.
let's get into Garage Days.
Yeah, so Garage Days came out in 2002, according to my notes. I've got my sheet here. So an interesting one. They had a budget of 6 million, but it only grossed like $716,000. So Brad and Troy, if you guys are listening, this could technically be a not a bomb. I'm stealing some of your not a bomb movies here. No, I'm
Yeah,
joking.
it could be.
Seriously,
Seriously.
this could seriously be a bomb movie. Um, it was an hour and 45 minutes. It was filmed in Sydney, Australia, directed by Alex Proyas. Now, before I actually get into more of the credits, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Alex Proyas. So, Alex Proyas, born to Greek parents, he moved to Australia at age 3, and he started making films as early as 10 years old. He's attended the Australian Film School along with director Jane Campion, and he actually collaborated with her on 2 short films before going on to direct his own short film called Groping. Groping won some awards at festivals, got a little bit of attention, We flash forward to 87, and he made his feature debut, which was a film called Spirits of the Air, Gremlins of the Cloud. He also wrote that. Um, and people really like the vision and the style of that film. It kind of led to a lot of work. That's when his career kind of really kind of took a little bit of a launch upwards. He went from being some film kid to directing commercials for like the big heavy hitters like Nike, Nissan, Swatch, stuff like that. That led to working with music videos for bands like Sting, Crowded House, In Excess. There's a shit ton of more music videos. This guy did just a ridiculous amount of music videos, and you could see he was just kind of like honing his craft, kind of getting his feet dirty, if you will, just digging in. And then there was a little bit of a break between feature films between 87, which brings us to the big movie that everybody kind of probably knows him for, which is The Crow in 94. Everybody knows the story about, unfortunately, the passing of Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son. Unfortunately, it was a travesty. I'm not going to get into that. You guys probably already know all that, so I figure why dig deep into that? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I will say that, as you mentioned, if you people listen to our last episode, you mentioned he is in the news right now because of his use of making artificial intelligence, using that in filmmaking, as well as, in my opinion, and I will just go a mini rant here, whining and crying about the remake of The Crow. Now, the reason I'm going to make fun of him for a second. Although I like him as a director, I will go back to my original thoughts on the remake of The Crow. Number one, I don't know anyone that didn't like The Crow. I'm sure they exist out there, but the reality was the movie came out in 94. It's sad what happened with Brandon. Brandon had a total of 10 films up to that point, but that does not define him as his legacy when people say it's his legacy. His legacy, it's just silly. Um, you got to remember The Crow was written by James O'Barr in the late 80s. It was a love letter to someone that he was engaged to that died tragically. That was his way of coping with The Crow. So when people talk about the remake, listen, the trailer is not perfect. Personally, the aesthetic I'm not in love with, but from what I understand, it's going to be following the graphic novel a little bit closer in content than the 94 version. Again, I know this is not a popular opinion. I'm not taking away from what Brandon Lee did. The soundtrack to that, I rocked out to. I
Me
love
too.
the fucking soundtrack. I mean, it just got so many great heavy hitters. You got The Cure,
Yep.
got Nine Inch Nails, fucking, you got Stone Temple Pilots. The movie was beautiful. I'm not taking away from that at all. I do think personally, people need to realize that, like, as much as that was a heavy hitter and it blew a lot of people away, that film will always exist. A
Hmm.
remake, you don't have to watch it. You can watch it and fucking shit on it all you want, but that doesn't take away from the original source material that's out
Yep.
there. Anyway,
Crow
mini
is for
rant.
the Crow is for the kids. The Crow is
Yeah,
for the youth. The youth
sure.
in 94 is not the youth in 2024. The youth
Yeah,
today is what
yeah,
we saw in that trailer. The
yeah. They
youth
have to
in
find a way to connect.
94 was the goth kids.
Sure.
Today,
Yeah,
the sad boy look is the
yeah,
same as the goth look.
yeah,
That
yeah. There's
is the
not that much
look.
of a difference.
And it is the same. It's the kids' culture. They love that kind
Yeah,
of white boy rap, the
yeah,
face tats. That sad boy is
yeah,
not much different to what people looked at as the goth look. That's
yeah,
what people are all worked up about, is that he's not
yeah.
quote unquote
That
90s goth. 90s
now,
goth isn't around anymore.
yeah. Now here's the thing. Here's the bravado. I will say this to everyone. I will eat my shit. I will eat my words. If you see the movie and then you read the original graphic novel and they go against what they said, which is they're going to be following the graphic novel more closely, then if you want to get up in arms and you want to be like, fuck this movie,
Yeah.
fine, fuck this movie, because then they're going against what they said they were going to do. But if they follow the themes and they stay closer in story to the original graphic novel, you can complain all you want, but they're getting to what they promised, which is getting to the core of the original graphic novel. I
Yep.
don't think anything wrong with that. I think if anything, you're going to feel bad for anyone, it's James O'Barr, because James O'Barr's the guy that really, like I said, the whole reason the whole thing came about was because someone he loved died. The girl that he was going to marry died tragically, you know? So, like, to me, that's the thing to be upset about, you know? And
Yeah,
I'm not even upset about that because the guy needs to make money. If he wants to sell the store and he believes in it, he believes in it. He's the one that's been wanting to redo it for years. I'm all
yeah,
for it.
I am
Anyway, that's
too.
my
I'm
mini
all
rant when it
for it.
comes to
No,
Crow.
you're right.
It
I'm
might
all for it too.
it might be garbage. I could be eating my words, but give it a
I'll
chance,
watch it.
people.
Again, it's
Next,
the youth culture. It's not for us
yeah,
old people. It's not for
yeah,
50-year-olds. It's meant for
yeah,
the
yeah,
youth. So
yeah.
like,
No,
if we're gonna like it, we'll like it. But again, it's
yeah,
for the 25
yeah,
year
yeah,
olds of today, not the 25-year-olds in 94. It's not for the
yeah,
50-year-olds who are complaining about it. It's like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
stop.
Just
Just
stop.
let kids have their stuff. The
Yeah,
Crow is for the
absolutely.
kids, and let the kids have Crow. And if we like it, cool. But if
And
not,
and
oh well.
listen, I don't
We
want
still
to.
have it.
Again, I'm not trying to bash the goth kids, the Asian goth kids. But if you watch the movie, as much as there are many amazing things in that film, and there are lots of amazing things. Let's face it, there are a couple turd aspects to that movie. Like for what even for what it was, some of the villains were very one dimensional. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and that's fine. It is what it is. Like, it's like you were saying with the Godzilla. You go to a Godzilla movie because you want to see two monsters beating the shit out of each other and done in a fun way. You want to have a good popcorn experience. But even the original Crow, they weren't trying to make Citizen Kane. They weren't
Yeah.
trying to make the heavy hitter movie, you know. So again, those are just my little ramblings.
Nope.
I'll leave
I
that
agree
alone
with
for
you.
right now, guys. I don't want to piss off my Crow people. Um, they're like, fuck this guy, fuck this channel. The
No, don't
co-host,
fuck
he's
our
fine.
channel.
He has
The Crow
what's
is
that?
always there, people.
It's
94
always
Crow
there.
is always there. So is
It will
the
be.
sequels. There's three of them, four of them, and a TV
If you want
show.
to shit anything, shit on the sequels. There you go. Because you have a reason to shit on the sequels.
There's a
Um,
TV show with your boy DeCascos in it
I
too. So I
know, and
mean,
I haven't seen it, and I don't know if I should see it.
it's on Tubi, I think.
It's on Tubi. I'll have to
I
look.
believe. I
I'll
think I
check
heard
it
it
out.
was, but I don't know.
Next big one is Dark City. Now, this one, I didn't look up all the stats on this, but I'm pretty sure this one didn't do that well at the box office. I'm pretty
It's a
certain. I
cult
got to
hit.
look it up.
Yeah, like most of his films weren't big
Yeah.
box office hits. Most of them were cult hits, except for iRobot.
But Dark City was, I like Dark City, man. It's got a lot of magic to it. It's got a lot of darkness, all puns intended there. It's got a really well written story. I will say nothing but good things about Dark City. That came out in
Yeah.
'98. Next, that brings us to this Garage Days 2002. So we got Garage
Mm-hmm.
Days, which, like you pointed out, it's interesting because you see Dark City, you see Crow, you see all these other films, and then you see a comedy, and it's freaking. We'll get into that in a minute. We have iRobot in 2004 with the Knockout King Will Smith. We have Knowing in 2009. A lot of people don't like that movie. Fuck those people. I love
Yeah, I
Nick
like
Cage.
it.
I like this
No,
movie.
it's fun.
It's got flaws, but I like the movie. Now, Gods of Egypt came out in 2016. I won't get into that one. I will say I defend that movie. A lot of people don't like that movie. Some of the content as to why they don't like it, I think is stupid. Like, it's they're not using enough people of color, which they did have some people of color. The other big thing was that it wasn't historically depicting ancient Egypt in the way that ancient Egypt really was. Again, I call bullshit because it's a science fiction fantasy story. If we
Yeah.
were doing a historical drama on Egypt, then of course you should be accurately correct. But this is not that. If you watch it, it's a sword and sandals fantasy film. It's definitely a little bit of a shit show, but it's like part of what we talked about when we started talking about this channel and what we want it to be. It's talking about films that are complicated. It's talking about films that may not always be perfect, but there's something about them. There's some element to it where you can go, you know what? There's more to good than there is bad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And this movie is like that. It's a stupid popcorn movie. It's fun. I recommend it. If you don't like it, screw you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's Proyas makes really stylish movies that are all a
Yeah,
lot of style
yeah.
and not a whole lot of substance, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
and that's what he's known for. And you're
Yeah.
gonna either hit with it or it's either gonna be a hit or miss, and
You
sometimes
either
it's gonna
like
be
the style or you
or
don't.
not.
And we'll talk about it in Garage Days. His style is there, loud and proud, even though it's
Oh
not an
yeah,
action movie, but
it's
the
definitely there
style
for
is
sure.
there.
So next thing I just want to touch base with after that in 2016, he founded a production studio in Sydney called the Heretic Foundation. He would later go on to start a video platform known as Videoverse, which is kind of like a alternative to YouTube for filmmakers. And that's where you're starting to see some of his new content, his short films. And I think that he just recently, I think I shared with you, he had a trailer that he did. 90% of it was done with the use of AI
Yep,
for a movie
all
that
AI.
he wants to raise money for to turn into a feature.
Hmm.
So that's Proyas. I know it took a little while to Proyas, but I thought it was important to kind of go into his background a little bit. Um,
He's an important director for what he's done. The Crow, all those films are,
yeah, yeah.
they brought on a style that still is used today.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely copycatted. I can probably list a couple different filmmakers that are copycatting to a certain degree, and there's nothing wrong with
Hmm.
borrowing. I mean, copycats maybe not the best words. So there are three different writers we got on this. We got him, um, Alex Proyas. He wrote this. He wrote the screenplay to Dark City and Spirits of the Air, Gremlins the Crowd, or the Gremlins the Cloud. There's a guy named Dave Warner. Now he has like 13 credits. I didn't list everything, just a couple of different ones. He did a bunch of Australian TV. Mostly that's
Hmm.
what he's known for, and a TV movie called Roll in '04. Like I said, he has 13 credits. I'm not going to list all 13 credits, guys. It's not worth it. Um, and then a guy named Michael Udesky. He's done pretty much all TV except for Garage Days. He did like stuff like NIS, Los Angeles, Criminal Minds, uh, some show called Undressed, and a show called Fat Dog Mendoza. So again, uh, a little bit of credits, not a ton of stuff. We have a cinematographer I'm going to get into, Simon Duggan. Now, Simon Duggan, excuse me, guys, I'm rambling my words here. Simon Duggan worked on stuff like iRobot with Chris, Knowing. He did stuff like The Great Gatsby in 2013, Hacksaw Ridge with Mel Gibson,
Oh,
2016. And the newest thing is he's going to be lensing the upcoming Furiosa, a Mad Max saga,
ooh,
which is coming out later on in 2024.
oh wow.
So he's managed to stay pretty relevant. He's got a bunch of little credits on him, which leads me next, guys, to our cast. Now, the cast mostly, from what I could tell, maybe I'm just not up with all the Australian cinema or Australia television, except for the big heavy hitters that we know, like, you know, well, I can't think of any names like off the top of my head here because I'm having brain farts today. But he's not. These are mostly unknown people for the most part. There's one name I'll mention towards the end that's more notable. Um, the main cast member we'll start with is Kick Gurry. He plays our lead singer Freddie. Um, he's been in stuff like Edge of Tomorrow, Speed Racer, and Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah,
Um,
Kick I've seen and stuff, and
yeah,
he's one of the few that I think has done things.
yeah, he's playing Freddie. We have Brett Stiller, who plays Joe, who's our lead guitar player. Mostly TV. He's been in stuff like Farscape, City Homicide, stuff like that. I didn't go into a lot of stuff because a lot of it's stuff that people might not recognize unless you're really on the up and up with Australian television and film. So
Hmm.
I didn't go into their complete list of credits. Next, we have Chris Sadrina. He plays Lucy, the crazy drummer. And he's been in, believe it or not, stuff like X-Men Origins Wolverine
Yeah.
2009. I didn't realize that because I don't recognize him for that, but it must have just been a smaller part. I didn't know Beastmaster was turned into a television show, but I guess at some point he was in that. And he did a movie in 2022 more recently called Beat.
Mm,
And he has about 18 credits, it looks like, to his name. So he's been around the block a little, mostly, I think, Australian productions, it seems
yep.
like, for the most part. We have Pia Miranda. Hopefully, I got that right. She plays the role of Tanya. She was been in stuff like Queen of the Damned. Remember that vampire movie from 2002?
Yep.
That she was in The Tender Hook in 2008 with Rose Byrne, another Australian actress, and stuff like that. And she has a bunch of other different credits. She plays our bass player. And then we have another Australian actress, of course, because they're all Australian, Maya Stange. She plays Kate. Um, she has been in stuff like Burn Notice, the television
Hmm.
show. She was in, believe it or not, a video game. She did the voice for Borderlands, the pre-sequel video game in 2014. And she's been on a movie called Head that came out in '98.
Hmm.
Like I said, the reason I'm not going into their full list, guys, is because I feel like unless you guys are, big on the Australian television film scene, you might not recognize it anyway. So it didn't seem worth it to go into their complete resume. Now the next one we have is Russell Dykstra. Russell Dykstra plays Bruno, the band manager, and he was on stuff like the movie Ned Kelly that came out in '02 with Heath Ledger and Orlando Bloom.
Oh
So he
yeah.
has a little bit of notable stuff.
Hmm.
And then he was on a TV show called Rake. He did 32 episodes that ran from 2010 to 2016. And again, he has a bunch more credits that I didn't bother to list. Um, I'm trying to think here. Oh, next we have a guy named Andy Anderson who plays Kevin. He plays the roommate of Joe. Um,
Hmm.
he's like an older fellow, friend of the band. He's been in stuff like the TV shows Hercules, Xena. He was in the Salem's Lot miniseries in 2004. The movie House of Wax in 2005.
Yeah,
Yeah, remember that
I
one?
love that movie.
It's such it's definitely that's definitely a crazy movie, right? That was the one that had what's her name, right? Paris Hilton
Paris
or something
Hilton
like that.
gets her
Yeah,
face, yeah, gets killed.
mutilated.
There's a great
Yeah.
kill in that.
The next one, this guy's actually been in a bunch of stuff. This is the one I actually texted you yesterday about a guy named Martin Sasakos. And Martin,
Yeah, his Martin Sulkus been in a lot of stuff.
I butchered your last name, buddy. Again, I'm sorry. He's been in the Lord of the Rings movies. He's been in Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, Born Supremacy, Kingdom of Heaven, the Sin City sequel, A Dame to Kill For in 2014. He was in Ridley Scott's The Last Duel in 2021. So yeah, he's been in a ton of shit. And then from there, I will go a little bit into some other stuff here. Hold on one second. I'll go. No, I'll handle. I'll let you handle it. You want to talk about the music to this, so I'll let you. I was
Yeah,
going to talk about
we'll
the who
talk.
composed it. I'll let
Yeah,
you
let's
talk
talk about.
about the music, and I'll let you dive into the story a little bit.
Okay. So before we get into the music, I just wanted to talk about how the movie came about. So Alex Proyas himself has stated that after Dark City and The Crow, he loved sci-fi and he loved films of the such. He wanted to get back to what he knew, which was making small movies, small shorts, and music videos. And he
Hmm.
decided to go back to Australia, where he got the chance to make this film on a small budget based on the Australia Film Fund, and they kind of treated him like a celebrity. So he came back home and made this movie. After this, he jumped right back into the big Hollywood world and did iRobot. But this was his little going back to his roots. And his roots, if you go to know Alex, is all about music. And he worked a little bit for a label, as well as that's how he kind of got into the music video business, doing all the music videos. So this movie really is a love letter to that world of music and the industry and the hustle and the bustle of it all, and the excitement and how you can create a family around music. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what this movie is about. He took a step back in an interview. He said he just wanted to take a step back from Hollywood and go back to his roots, go back to home, shoot on the streets of Australia. They actually got to shoot in Home Bake, which is like their big kind of Lollapalooza type festival in Australia. So he was actually able to film the whole outro scene as well as part of that intro scene
Hmm.
at the Home Bake Festival. So he was actually treated like a celebrity and had the chance to be there with everybody and go back to his roots and make something that he loved. And it's still an Alex Proyas movie. But let's go back into the music. The music itself is really what makes this movie so freaking good. So one thing that they did is while you're listening to the movie, you're watching the movie, you're hearing a lot of familiar songs. You hear Added Up, which is a Violent Femmes song. You hear a song by Bowie. You hear all these other songs, but they're not quite the same because what they did is they got smaller bands to cover more popular songs to make it cheaper to be able to put those into the film. So he found the films he wanted by or the music he wanted by finding covers of the songs so that he didn't have to pay for the actual version, a way of kind of playing on the budget. Again, this was one of the smaller budgets that he'd done
Hmm.
um, prior to his first film, which I don't know if we talked much about, but this is back to
Yeah.
those kind of working in Australia on a small budget roots. The soundtrack is great right from the get go. I mean, you get so many great songs. The Added Up song from Violent Femmes is one of my all time favorites as a
Oh,
kid.
absolutely.
You got Roxy Music, you got the Jam.
Oh, the jam. It's all about the jam.
There's
Even the
so many.
AC/DC song.
Yeah, there's AC/DC songs, again, covers by a band
Yeah,
called
but
D4.
still, that's awesome.
But yeah, they sound great. The covers they got sound great. The soundtrack bangs. The energy of this movie comes from the soundtrack and Proyas's energy, the way that he makes
Yeah.
movies. So for me, this movie's music really caught me right from the get-go. It's a mix of old garage music as well as new garage music, from like the new music from the Hives, which is a band that I used to love back in the 2000s. Also, International Noise Conspiracy, both bands I saw live back in the early 2000s. They bring kind of that rootsy garage rock sound back to the 2000s. So during
Mhm.
that time, you had the White Stripes, you had the Hives, you had the Vines. The Vines were also from Australia. All these
Mhm.
great bands that were bringing back that sound and energy of 60s garage rock with a little bit punk and modern energy. So those bands were great. And the soundtrack, again, if you're not a fan of the Hives or International Noise Conspiracy, you can find the soundtrack. Listen to those guys. It's such a banger. I mean, the new stuff and the old stuff
Yeah,
really
no, that it
combines to
absolutely
make a good.
works for sure.
Yeah,
The
it
music is
works. It's
it
all a love
absolutely
of
is.
garage music. Again, as much as garage rock, that simple
Yeah.
garage rock sound that comes all the way back from the Beatles in the 60s. So that garage rock sound got recycled in the 2000s. And that's kind of where I fell in love with this movie, is going back and watching it, is the nostalgia of it. I was really into the garage rock scene at the time, so I loved the music. It was my
Mhm.
first Sundance when I saw this film. I was in my 20s, and it just has this electric energy to it that's unlike anything I've seen. So let's talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about the film. I'll talk a little bit about the plot here. This isn't going to be like the last film or the last one, Rudderless, where we're going to go over
Yeah, the
every
video is
little
probably
inch of
gonna
the
be a little bit
plot.
shorter. Yeah.
It's good. No, this movie is really pretty basic. It's about a
Yeah, no,
band
it is.
that has a dream to grow big. We get to know each member of the band. Freddie's the lead. We first meet Freddie and Tanya. Freddie and Tanya are kind of fucking around. They're not in love, but they're kind of having sex and having a thing. Tanya's also in the band. We then meet all the rest of the band, but we get this really awesome intro scene, which again is all about the power of the visuals of Proyas, which is a dream sequence of Kick and his band, Freddie and the band, like on a big stage, great visuals, rocking it out. Of course, it ends up being a whole dream sequence that ends up being him back in bed with Tanya's character.
Where
She's
he's not satisfying her.
Yeah, she's complaining about him not being good in the sack, which is quite funny. A lot of the dialogue is pretty funny,
Yeah.
but it's fun because we go from that to him trying to hustle. We get to know all the bandmates, and of course, there's a lot of Train Spotting esque drug
Yeah.
scenes where they do the drugs and go off and have fun, which brought me to this year's Sundance Kneecap. This movie reminds me a lot of that, actually, the energy. So when
Kneecap,
you get
yeah.
a chance, Kneecap, it's coming out this spring. It was a big deal at
Nice.
Sundance, which is also a musical film about a Irish rock or Irish rap group.
Oh,
But
awesome.
going back to Garage Days, so from this point, the band is trying to get out there. They come up with a lot of different ideas on how to get famous. They have Bruno, who's their older manager, who's of course kind of a loser, just hangs out with them to get chicks and drinks. He's kind of, but in
He's
the
kinda
end,
like the screw up.
he's kind of a screw up, but he's there to kind of, he's their manager. Again, this
Yeah.
is just a group of millennial Gen Xers having fun in 2000. We get them doing drugs. We get them trying to earn the money to make
Yeah.
a demo, because of course back then it was much different to make a demo. You can do it now and you're at home on your computer. Back then you had to
Oh,
rent
absolutely,
the
yeah.
space and the cost of getting a demo and everything. They end up meeting Koska's character, who's kind of a big wig at a
Douchebag.
music label. What was that?
Bit of a douchebag.
He's a douchebag. Yep, he's a
Yeah.
douchebag bigwig who
Yeah.
uses his power to get women in the industry. As we see, he's got a big Australian kind of rock band that he's managing, and God, they have a stupid name. It was like Spurred or I can't remember. My wife's
Yeah,
like, "What are they?
something like yeah, like
Sperm?"
Scar or Spur or something
Fart.
like
It was a
really
weird,
dumb, yeah.
stupid name, and they were a
Yeah,
dumb
yeah.
band. Of course,
Yeah.
they were kind of trying to bring the post grunge, and of course, it was making fun of
Yeah.
that post grunge sound when garage rock was kind of becoming the in thing in the early 2000s, and
Yeah.
grunge was getting pushed out. So there was some funny scenes there, but anyway. Freddie kind of thinks that him and this manager are buddies and that he's going to help them. But yeah, he just wants to get laid. He's just trying to have and then hide his affair. And it's it's all kind of funny. It's all much ado about nothing. All the pitfalls and things that occur to our band as they're on their way to getting big. In the end, all that really matters is we have come to realize that this group of people are family. They switch
Yeah,
lovers, they switch boyfriends and girlfriends. One ends up finding out that one's getting pregnant, one's pregnant. They're supposed to have a baby, and
yeah.
the one character is taking care of a cantaloupe to prove to her that he can take care of a baby, and funny stuff ensues, including
We won't get into what happens to that cantaloupe. We'll let you guys enjoy that surprise.
yeah, that's fun. There's some fun use of CGI in that early
Yeah,
CGI where the cantaloupe is like kind of becomes a baby. There's lots of little touches of CGI.
yeah,
And of course, Proyas has this thing where he loves big, round, circular windows at the top of big, tall buildings. That happens to be where the band hangs out, which is very
yeah.
similar to where Crow
The
dies in The
crow.
Crow.
Yeah,
Very similar to what happens in iRobot, where the robot gets pushed through the big circular window. He has a thing
yeah,
with big circular windows and doing big circular
yeah,
shots inside those rooms. He does a very similar scene in there, which is kind of like they have this big, again, up top of this area where they're this room where their band kind of meets and hangs out.
mm,
Um, Again, this movie just has so much going for it in energy and in pace. Is some of the humor a little bit cringy by 2000 standards? Yeah, it's a little bit douchey sometimes, but you get so caught up into the energy of it and the look and the color and the vibe that it just goes by. It's an hour and 45 minutes of fun. I watched this with my wife, she's again a big and more into reality stuff, but I didn't think she'd watch it, but she caught herself into it and watched the entire
yeah.
movie. She had a blast with it because it's the kind of movie that more people should see. It's the kind of movie that
Absolutely.
Not a Bomb should cover because it should have been a bigger hit. Yes, it's
Oh, absolutely.
Australian, and yes, some of these actors we don't know, but it has that kind of energy and comedic zest that
Yeah.
other movies at the time that became big from Sundance, like Napoleon Dynamite, wishes it had. Like this movie has the kind of energy that
All
it
right.
should have
Don't
made
be
it
knocking
bigger.
on Napoleon. I
Oh,
like
I love
Napoleon,
Napoleon Dynamite, and it was
but
made
you're
in my
right. But you're right.
backyard. I
But
love it, but
this movie definitely shouldn't have. It should have gotten some more traction.
it should
It
have
should have
got more
gotten more.
traction. It should have got
Yeah,
bigger,
definitely.
and that's the reason why I wanted to pick it. I hadn't seen it in years. I remember
Yeah,
having a fun time with it, and because Alex was in the news and he's making AI film now, and he's kind of,
yeah,
I thought, let's pull out an old. And part of what I want to do on this video and on our future podcast is pull out some gems that maybe I'd seen once in my 20s, or stuff that I
sure.
hadn't seen that I had on a list that I kind of forgot
Yeah,
of when I was coming up as a young budding film buff in my early 20s back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah,
Similar to you, I know we were all trying to get our hands on it. And this is one of those movies that's just fun and more
yeah,
people need to watch. The music's infectious. It really has this kind of energy. And Kit Gurry, he's gone on to do a few things. He has some
yeah.
energy. He's fun. As the
Yeah,
lead,
no,
he really is the one you're watching, and you're kind of following the movie through his lens.
his journey. Yeah.
Yeah, but the ending is great. I mean,
No,
we watch them
absolutely.
go through everything to try to. So basically, our band is trying to get signed, and they're trying to get on the big stage. Well, they're trying to get their chance to be in this what they call the Home Bake Festival, which is like again like a Lollapalooza. It's a big
Yeah.
rock festival locally in Australia. Well, they got the chance. Through some other things, more complicated plot stuff, they got the chance to play at the festival. All sorts of things happen where you think they're going to be able to play, or maybe they won't. We have one member of the band who has a pregnant girlfriend who's all sorts of mentally. And let's go back to his character. One thing outside of the comedy and outside of everything is the mental health of Joe, played by Brett Stiller. We
Yeah.
are watching him descend through a mental health collapse. Like his character is collapsing, and we see it, and it's comedic, but we're seeing and feeling his mental collapse as he's having a mental breakdown due to everything around him. He's depressed, he needs some medication, and throughout the film, we are seeing him spiral. And it's
Yeah.
interesting. We see him go through breaks up with the girl, then realizes he wants her. He tries to get her back, explores with the drugs, gets suicidal. Everything that his character goes through, we're able to kind of see the spiral of depression. And I
Mm.
thought that was pretty interesting for a film in 2003, the way they really painted depression in his mind and what he was going through and what he was
Oh,
seeing
absolutely. Yeah, they did an incredible job. Yeah, for
compared to
sure.
what was originally happy. So through all that, they're trying to get Joe's character and get him there and get everybody to perform. All in all, by the end, they get up and they perform. And guess what? They're just not that fucking good.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it
that's
doesn't
great.
matter.
What
It
the
doesn't
fuck?
it
No, I
doesn't
know.
matter. The
No.
thing is
You're-
that doesn't matter. And of course it says it on the poster. What happens if you were had the chance to be a star and you just weren't that fucking good?
Yeah.
Because the movie's
Well,
about friendship. The music
true.
led them not, are they going to be famous? Are they going to be a big famous band? No, but their friendship and who they are as a band is going to continue forever. Are they ever going to be really good and be successful? Probably not. But in the end,
Yeah.
we love them as friends. Joe got the help he needed. They got him cleaned up. They're all are continuing on in their future, raising babies and still being friends and playing music. It's a great, fun little film, and I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm
What
going to
do you
pretty
think,
much.
John?
I hate to say it, you pretty much summed it all up. I hate to say it. You pretty much echoed like 99% of what I think. I mean, I really can't say anything negative about the movie. I hate to like give such a brief uh explanation of my feelings, but yeah, no, I mean, I would say this is a movie that I connect with because the characters are lovable. It's an ensemble piece. I mean, like you said, you're following Kit Curry's journey, but it all works together.
Because the
Every
characters,
element
yeah,
and every actor plays well off the other actor. Um, and it's just a fun ride. I mean, it's just a really fun ride. The only thing I could say walking away from it is just like, damn, Alex Proyas. I love the movies that you do, but shit, man, if you could make a comedy this good, how come we're not seeing another comedy?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, fuck, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Dark City as much as I was poking fun at the Crow people. I like the Crow. I
yeah,
like knowing, despite the accusations some people may have towards it being cheesy. I love it. Even the Gods of Egypt I was defending, but you can do comedy, bro. Do another comedy, like
yes. We need
seriously.
comedy. The world needs to laugh, and
Oh, we need comedy.
comedy films are not. I mean, you mentioned the rom com that Sydney Sweeney made, but they're not really going into theaters. We're not seeing a lot of
No,
comedies into theaters.
and that the problem with that movie is like, I won't go into the bashing of her. I will say that movie suffers because there's a couple good moments, but they're playing it safe. And the same thing with, I think I mentioned, before with you is that everybody's afraid to pull the trigger and actually just be funny. And I know that is subjective, the word funny, but people are afraid to just put it out there. No matter what you do in the world of art, not to get pretentious here, it doesn't matter what you're putting out into the world. There's always going to be the possibility that you're going to make someone cry, you're going to make someone angry, you're going to provoke something in someone. But at the end of the day, you have to take that risk. You have
Yeah,
to. And especially when it comes to comedy. It's so sad. Like, forget about the people that are the comedians that transition over into film or television, but the ones that just do stand up and they're getting canceled because they say something that makes someone upset. And it's like, I'll use an example like Bill Burr. Now, he does have a television and film career to a small degree, but like, if you go to a Bill Burr stand-up show, you can't tell me you don't know what you're getting into. You paid $100 for these fucking tickets. You
yeah.
know the type of humor that you're getting out of that. Same thing with most of these comedians. People are getting offended, but it's like, what fucking Dave Chappelle's going to say. You know the kind of humor he's going to get. You know what you're getting into.
Yep.
And I feel like they just scared so many people that like so many comedians and so many comedic movies, they're afraid to just take a chance, man. Now this movie, I think the humor in it, I don't think it plays it safe, but there's nothing that's offensive in this movie. I don't think
Not
there's,
really.
I don't really think you can
It's
find anything.
sophomoric. Some of it's
No,
sophomoric and a little bit childish.
yeah,
But I mean,
but
it's a
nothing
movie
that's
made
like,
by 20 year
yeah, it
olds for
wasn't made.
20-year-olds.
Yeah, it was made to just have a fun time, and it's well done, man. Like I said, I got nothing but positive things. I can't think of really anything negative to say on the movie. I highly recommend it. The soundtrack, like you said, is fantastic. The cast works super well together. Alex Proyas brings a little small comedy. It sucks that it didn't succeed on a bigger level, but I mean, it's a good movie. Definitely seek it out, guys. You can find it on DVD. I picked up a used copy for under $10. I think you can find it on Prime. You can rent it
You
3 or
can. You
4
can
bucks.
rent it for $3. You can
Yeah,
buy it
yeah,
online. Again, this is a kind of movie that needs to be re-released. It needs to be
yeah. No,
pushed more.
absolutely.
And
I'd
the
love
more
to see a
people
Blu-ray
rent it
release.
and watch it, the more
Yeah.
people watch it, the more that maybe it'll get on a streaming service eventually. I don't know where. I think it's owned by Fox, so you think that Fox would
Oh,
put it on
okay.
Hulu or something. Fox Searchlight bought it, so I imagine
Yeah.
that they would eventually do something, but they're doing nothing with it. I think it was one of those
Not
films that's
Disney,
kind of
right?
sitting because Disney owns it, and they're not doing
Yeah.
anything with a lot of that old Searchlight, unless it's like they're sort of pushing Napoleon Dynamite, which I'm not talking bad about, but they're
Yeah. No,
pushing
I
it.
know you're not. I was just busting their chops
It's
before.
I do love Napoleon Dynamite, but they're pushing its 94 or 2004 was when it came out, so they're pushing its 20th anniversary and
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff like that. But why don't we get more stuff? I mean, we need comedy in our lives, and
Oh,
right
absolutely.
now there's not a lot of options. It's hard to find
Yeah.
comedy films that work. It's hard to find comedy films that are in streaming. So
Yeah.
I just want people to see this. I chose it because I thought it's a movie that fit our theme, that not very
No,
many people
absolutely.
know. It's not one people ever talk about, and you don't really see much about it. Anything when you Google the movie, the only things you'll find is a few interviews from when he released the movie during Sundance 2003. Now,
Yeah.
the film was made in '02 and had a small premiere in Australia, but
Uh-huh.
it wasn't actually released till after '03 when the
Okay.
Sundance Film Festival, and they got just a small. It ended up just dropping mainly into theater or mainly into
Yeah.
DVD. It didn't even get a
Yeah.
theatrical push really in America. I think it might have hit like New York and LA like they do, throw them in the art
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. It's
Got rid
definitely
of
one
it.
of those ones. Like if it was released by A24, like you were mentioning, it probably would have
It'd be
gotten
huge.
because
Yeah.
that's the one that's getting the push in even the
Yep.
multiplexes, and it probably
Yeah.
would have done well for itself. But back then, like I remember, like we have an art theater. You have to go about an hour away, pretty much. Other than that, you got New York City. So like if I wanted to go see something, I remember seeing like Miyazaki, Princess Mononoke in '99, and going up to the Angelica Theater, which is a big theater
Oh
in the
yeah.
Village up in New York. And I went to go see the premiere in there because back then, like anime was starting to get some traction, but you still had to go out of your way. And
Yeah.
Miyazaki wasn't the Miyazaki that he is now. Now he's known as the Oscar-winning Miyazaki. Back then, like
Yeah.
Japanese animated movie, you're going to go to New York to see that. And the same thing with like a small independent film, unless it had some real traction behind it, or it like kicked ass at Sundance and it had gotten like major thumbs up reviews by every reviewer, you were going out of your way to find it. But it's sad about that because like even like it's much better movie this movie is, but like I think about something like you take a movie like right Can't Hardly Wait, which is a stupid teen comedy. It's not a perfect movie, it's dumb, but it has like that ridiculous stupid kind of humor. That's a movie because it had a like it had a cast that was hot at the time, a Hollywood cast. It played in all the multiplexes. This is something that I feel like none of the cast except for Martin Sirocco, whatever the hell his name is, pardon Martin, that he was the only guy that had like any kind of pedigree as far as his resume. I feel like
Yeah.
if this had a couple big actors, it would have got a bigger push. I like the cast the way it is. I wouldn't change
I
a
do
thing
too.
about it.
No,
But
I
it's a,
love the cast.
but it's sad because it's like back then, like I said, you were going to get a New York and an LA premiere, and then you were going to get
That's
them to
it.
video, and that's just the way the market was back then,
Yeah.
as far as films and stuff.
Well, if you're
But
looking for a movie to watch with your spouse on a weekend
yeah,
night and you want to hear some good music and have some laughs and see the styles and remember what it was like to be young in 2002, like give this a chance.
yeah, no,
Again,
absolutely,
it's
definitely,
fun. I totally recommend it. Even though Alex Proyas is kind of up his own ass these days, I think that he has a
yeah,
pretty solid
sure,
filmography. I'm
yeah, he
excited to
does,
see what else he does. I've watched a lot of his shorts that he's been releasing on his Patreon and
yeah,
his AI stuff. So I always follow his career. I remember I Robot being something that wowed me when I saw it in theaters. Thought it was really cool, quite different from the book and the other things. But I
yeah,
enjoyed it, and I enjoy his work.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think more people need to get out there and see Garage Days.
Yeah, absolutely. I figure if you want to, since we kind of gave our closing thoughts,
Yeah.
you want to do some shout outs to some of our fellow podcasters, people they should be listening to?
Yeah, yeah. So before we go into shout outs, hey everybody, like and subscribe to the channel.
Of course, yes, can't
Please
forget that. Mike is
keep
staying on top of that.
like
Unlike
and
myself.
hey, like and subscribe on the channel. Now for a bit something a bit different. Make sure that you are liking so you know when we're dropping videos. We don't have a set time or day yet. Eventually we will. Right now we're dropping them on Sundays because as we film them, once we get into podcasting and we're going to be editing things more, we'll eventually get a full release schedule. But please start liking us on Facebook. You can find us there. You can also find us on the YouTube. So like and subscribe to both. And like we said, go on to our podcast, the podcast fathers, the forefathers that have come before us. We couldn't do it without the Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. We couldn't do it without Not a Bomb. We couldn't do this without Watch Skip Plus or the Feminine Critique or the Married with Clickers or man, how many others? There's so many. Silver and Gold, the Cult of Muscle. All of you
Yeah,
guys, you all know who you are at the GGTMC. We couldn't do this without you. Continue to watch movies, get to the theaters for live exhibition if you can. And if you're bored and you don't, and you just want to stay at home, go rent Rudderless and or Garage Days. Enjoy
absolutely.
yourself and have a great Easter. John, what about
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. Yeah, same thing. You pretty much covered all the guys we want to talk about. Also, like I mentioned in the last episode, I'm going to repeat again because I'm repetitive. We do have an episode, hopefully at the end of the month, Crying Freeman with Troy,
Yep.
hopefully Brad. Keep my fingers crossed. We're going to get that going at some point. And then, like I said, we also have an episode midway through the month. It's going to be a mystery guest for right now.
Yep.
We're also going to be having another guest come on. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, no, I think that pretty much covers it all, guys. One more thing I'm going to put back to your way. The next episode we're going to be talking about is another movie you picked. Do you want to give us shout outs to that movie and maybe like a brief tag of what it's about? Not like go
Yeah.
full into it
We are going to watch
for
Tom
next week's episode.
DeSillo's. We're watching Tom DeSillo's Johnny Suede. It's one of the first starring roles from, um, gosh, man, I can't even think his name. Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yeah.
So superstar Brad Pitt got his start. Of course, he was in Thelma and Louise and a few things before this, but this
Yeah.
was his first like big leading role, or he's in the movie 90% of the time. It's a
Mm.
weird little Sundance flick that premiered in '92 at Sundance. It's all about this weird kind of vibe that Jim Jarmusch and Tom DeSillo kind of created. I hope you like it. And those who haven't watched it or those who want to rewatch it or whatever, find it out there. You can rent it. You can find it on different places. Again, Johnny Suede, that's what we're going to be covering next week if you want to play along. Again, we do cover spoilers here. So we would prefer you watch the show beforehand. But if you like to be spoiled and then watch afterwards, that's cool as well. So just know we talk
Yeah.
spoilers. We're going to explain the movie. We're going to tell you why we liked it. And we're going to tell you why you should rewatch it. Again, we're not covering a lot of new
Yeah.
movies. Most of what we're going to be covering is stuff that you might have seen before or have heard or haven't heard that
Yeah.
hasn't gotten enough love that we want to share more love about, both John and I. So
Yeah.
every month each of us will pick two films or so based on some kind of theme or something that we'll continue to tackle. And yeah, if you have ideas for themes or
Yeah.
anything that you would
Right
like
in,
us to
guys, for
tackle
sure.
in the future, write in the comments below. Let us know. Also, follow us on Facebook. Over there, you can follow us on a great group. Go ahead and find me or John, and then you'll be able to find the group there. So, yeah, we appreciate
Yeah.
all of you guys.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Yes, thank you very much for continuing to watch. And like Mike said earlier, happy Easter. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. So now you guys are going to get spoiled here. You got 2 episodes you got to put up with, not put up with, listen to, busting your chops, guys. So you got 2
Yes.
episodes to listen to. And hopefully, like I said, we'll have that next episode up before you know it. So I hope you guys have a great day. And Mike, thank you again for always being so wonderful and joining me on this journey. I really appreciate it. I'll see
Thanks,
you guys
Sean.
soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, you still there? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Sorry.
We're
You
still
were like
recording.
for a second there, your image was like perfectly still, and I'm like, did I
No, but
lose it? Did my fucking phone
no, we're
freeze?
still recording though.
Oh, we are. Oh, shit.
We're gonna have to
Okay,
cut.
guys. See, because of the world of lack of editing, you get to see this end meeting for all. Hold on. Bear with me, guys.